organic farming or natural farming, what we say. Uh, and as discussed with our organizers, we will not be touching on what is importance of organic agriculture and all today. Hope everyone knows it. Now we will be talking most on what need to be done to get success in organic farming. And to get that, to know, we'll have to understand the nature. Without nature, to get success in organic farming or natural farming is very difficult. So what is nature and components of it? The components is living and non-living. Living is includes our insects, birds, plants, animals, and everything. And non-living may be like air, water, and all. And these, every non-living and living, both have their own role to play in organic farming and even natural farming. To understand these components of farming, we need to start living with sun. First and foremost, we need to start with living with sun. That's getting up early in the morning before sunrise and getting work done during your sunrise, sun evening, and taking up. Why is because of technological developments. We have gone to that extent that we are trying to cultivate land even during night hours with tractors and all, and even irrigating soil during night hours. Maybe science will not be able to understand the facts, truth behind it, but there are proven records which we need to do during sunrise and only. Okay, during morning hours. That part will leave, but just now understand that we need to do our jobs during daytime. Farming is, and next we also need to understand, farming is not a 9 to 5 job wherein we get up morning and go to office, or like go to a field at 9 o'clock and come back at 5 o'clock. We need to get up early morning, go to field at 4 5 during some time, and sometime in the evening. So we need to get these things adjusted. So it's 12 or 24 hours job, 365 days, but we need to understand. So coming to components of nature, we need the components that I said different components have their own role to play in that. So we'll start one example like honeybee. Honeybee is also part of our nature. It's an insect. So it has, what we understand, common man, everyone knows, honeybees are meant for providing honey. But more than that, they do many things, like it helps in increasing the yield by means of pollination. Because we know that only it is providing honey, we started cultivating in boxes. We made a box, we collected a queen honeybee and started cultivating it. So then gradually problems rose that because of deforestation and all, they did not get its food. Its food is flowers. So when it goes to food, it attracts up grazes on it and whatever eats on it, and it fulfills and collects the pollen and makes honey. So in that sense, we started cultivating in a box, gradually box, and in the summer and all, flowers are not there. So during technique, we need to feed it. So then when we needed to feed, we started feeding with sugar. So we are feeding sugar to the bees to get the honey, which is wrong. So we need to understand bees life cycle to get success in agriculture. Bees is meant for pollination, which increases the yield. Bees increases one beehive in 1 red gram plot increases 10% of yield in the red gram. So 10% means we usually get 4 to 5 quintals or 6 quintals. If you get a 5 quintals of yield, 10% means 50 kgs. 50 kgs increase just because of one beehive in that plot. 25% in sunflower, that means 8 bags. If you are getting 8 bags, means 25% of 8 bags is 2 bags. 2 bags of sunflower is just increased by one beehive. So in cucurbitacea families like cucumber, bitter gourd and all those things, the increase in yield is up to 100%. Like 10 quintals if you are getting, it's 20 quintals. 20 quintals if you are getting, it's 40 quintals. So increase in yield just because of bees is very important. So for which we need to understand life of bee. So life of bee, they have a beehive in thorny plants. Thorny plants, maybe it may be bare, may be bubble and all, where it have its place. Because it sees that it has to safeguard from its enemy. Enemy is man. So man goes to honeybees for honey and kills it. So it wanted to safeguard from man, and it usually does its house in thorny plants. So in that sense, we need to have these plants along our border of plot or whatever land, and I will be touching more on that when we come to fence crops. So second is we need to provide it feed. So feeding is flowers throughout the day, 52 weeks, 365 days, 12 months, whatever you call. So we need to have those flowering plants. So because cropping season we have a flowers only during 1 or 2 months peak hours. Like if you take a red gram only during October, September or something like that, 2-3 months. If you have a jawar and in green gram earlier in Kharif, so it almost 1 or 2 months. So through crops we can give flowers feed to these honeybees only for 2-3 months. So remaining 7 months we are feeding sugar to these people, honeybees, bees, in case of emergency. So in that case, if we have these plants through which we can have flowers throughout the year, so for which we need to plant different plants, seeing that different flowers has to be there in throughout the 12 months. See, mango flowers during April, February, January and all. After that we get jam, and after that we get sitafal or custard apple during October, November. So different fruits have different seasons, so to feed different insects or birds in nature. So in that case, so these plants will have, we need to plan accordingly that different plants we have, so that throughout the year honeybee gets a food. What happens if honeybees are not there? We have different technologies like biotechnology has developed to increase the yield, seed hybrids have come up to increase the yield, pesticides, most things have come. But honeybees are required for survivability of human being, because see, Einstein here said like the 4 years from the day of honeybees extinct on earth, man will get extinct. That means today if honeybees are not there on earth, next 4 years human will not be existing on earth. So we need to plant trees so that honeybees exist for human survival. So but why people are cutting trees and not planting? So if you ask any of the farmers, they give a reasons like monkeys are coming into plot and they are destroying our crops, so we are cutting the plants. People say shade, because shade there we don't get a crop in that shade, so that's the second. No income from this one like plants, because whatever plants we are growing we don't get much of the yield, because people come and take mangoes, people come and take whatever fruits that yields, and even thieves problem is there. So all these things we have come up as we need to address these. So what are really these are the problems, are they part of nature? So monkey, see, we in the vernacular, say if very lightly if I have to say, we make puja to Hanuman and kill the monkeys. Monkeys is like just Hanuman and monkeys are like similar thing. So we make puja to Hanuman. That means we need to make puja to this live Hanuman, monkeys. So we need to feed the monkeys also. Monkeys are also part of the nature. Shade. See, take the worst of the worst plant. If you take like even some normal plant, jamun is there, which usually gives a shade. Take for an example, taking red gram and jamun in the case example. So the shade of the jamun plant that kills the red gram yield is almost 10 kgs or so. So or whatever, if a bubble plant is there, the worst of the worst shading plant, bubble is there, it also takes yield of 25-30 kgs, 10-25 kgs. If that 20 kgs is compensated by the beehive that is there on this plant. Second thing is yield of this plant. So if jam is there or mango is there, whatever plant, if that yields, the value of that plant is giving more than these insects. What you call yield loss of the main crop. So shade reduction in yield is also not the problem. And next, thieves and all. So if everyone has their plants in everyone's house, there will be no thieves. Today problem has come. Last 60 years we have cut the plants and we have deforested it. Now if I have only mango trees in my field and no mango in across villages, people will definitely come and thief, steal that. In that case, so we need to plant trees in spite of these problems. So plant and we need to understand what are the benefits out of plants also. We understand only fruits, timber are the economic part of this plant, but the main reason why we need to plant is water that it gives. Water is, see, we had the case done like 2 acres of plot. 1 acre there are 4 plants, in another acre there are no plants. So 1 acre which is giving 4 plants, which has 4 plants, that 100 mm of rain falls on that acre of land, 80 mm of water gets infiltrated into soil, and only 20 mm gets outflow. But in the plot where there are no plants, 100 mm rainfall falls, 80 mm goes away out of the plot, and only 20 mm gets into the soil. So we need to understand whether water need to get into the soil or get out of this land. So because of this deforestation, our water table has gone down to the extent of 400, 500 in some areas like Kolar and all 1000 feet also. And we talk of the Israeli farming, wherein they take the water from 1.5 kilometer. So Israeli farming, if you want that, we also need to go 1.5 kilometer down the earth, into the earth and take the water, then don't plant trees and all. There's no need of talking on natural farming and all. But to take the water like earlier days, like 20 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet, there are even wells which we get water at 5-6 feet also. So in that sense, to do that, we need to plant trees. So what gives is, so after fruits and timber, it also increase the water table. And it also like place for honeybees that we discussed. It is also place for birds many a time. So birds reside on this, and we feel birds are enemies of farmer. So it comes and takes the field of the like jawar, ragi, and even in bajra. It comes and eats main crop. But actually birds are meant to eat insects on these plants. If you take red gram example, we get helicoverpa, and helicoverpa is a major pest in many of the crops. These birds will be major enemies of these insects. So to increase natural enemies of this insect, harmful insects, so we need to have increased the birds population. To increase the bird population, we need to build a nest place wherein they can have their nest and reside in the farm itself. So for which we need to plant trees and birds and even some natural insects also there. So there are insecticidal plants also, like neem, what everyone knows commonly, like neem, we take leaves, we take seeds, we make pesticides out of it and spray it, and again we are trying to intervene the role of plants. There are some plants like falsa flame of forest that we Kannada we call muttuga. During holy season it comes, flowers, and we usually make patroli out of it, like a plate for eating food. So these things, in that case, so now when this falsa or flame of forest plant is there, it attracts the flies kind of insects to that flower, red color flower, and kills it. So it's just you plant that falsa trees, it attracts honeybees, it increases water table, it helps in increasing water table, it almost all whatever things. But more than that, it also attracts in the insects directly. So again, there's a castor is there. Castor is also called trap crop in many of the crops like red gram, cotton and all. This castor is planted across the border. It attracts many of the insects wherein it manages the main pest in crop. So we need to plant trees for more than the reason of fruits and vegetables. So in that case, and next component is plants. We plant trees. We also need to plant trees because of what you call increasing the worms in the plot. Why we need to increase worms in the plot is, again, for worms also we have started manipulating, cultivating in a natural or artificial environment, like having a pit and all, bringing in worms and feeding them our food, and trying to not allowing them to live a life in its own natural environment. Now, so we need to allow them natural environment. So every square feet of land should have one worms. So but worms are not there in the soil because of our spray of pesticide, insecticide and all those things. But that's one reason. But why worms are there? Worms are considered to be the first tillers on earth, apart from ants and all. So they help in decomposing, for which we need to give them a food. Food is for insects is organic manure in that field, and organic material comes from the plants leaves, plants, the whatever left out of plants and all. So in that case, it helps in increasing the worms. So when worms increase, what happens in the soil, that we need to understand. So when worms increases in the soil, worms characteristic goes into the soil for 15-20 feet and then again comes back 15-20 feet, and every time it goes into the soil and comes out of the soil, it takes a different path. When it takes a different path, it traverses in different path, there becomes a pipe-like things in the plot. So when pipe-like things happens across the 1 acre of plot or whatever land, when rain comes, water percolates very fast into the soil. Otherwise what happens in today's soil, there are no worms, there is no this one, so there's land has become very hard, water cannot get infiltration, and there's a flood like situation even for a small rainfall. So worms have a more than that, making decomposing and making manure, it also helps in increasing the water table. So but they are also killed because of use of our natural cultivation methods, artificial cultivation methods, and spray of herbicides, pesticide, and etc. And they become a poison for this, and we need to definitely find an alternative for herbicide, pesticide and all, which I'll be just discussing during course of time. So what should be done for pest management? We need to follow an integrated approach. So we started with honeybees, we started with plants, then worms came. So what is this integrated approach? So one is you need to plant trees for the reason that I explained. Then you choose companion crops. It's not organic farming cannot happen like I take a red gram and follow organic methods of agriculture just like a copycat of inorganic agriculture. I use urea, I want an alternative for urea. I use endosulfan or monocrotophos, I want an alternative for this. This is not the way of organic farming. We need to find an alternative methods of farming wherein we get an urea in the plot naturally, we get an pest management effects in the field naturally. So for that reason we need to understand cropping system. Taking red gram as a sole crop is most dangerous. Not just a red gram, any of the crop for that matter will not be successful in organic farming. We need to have our companion crops. For example, companion is they each support each other to manage the pest and all. So for example, what you call red, if I take red gram as or onion, in onion this what you call carrot is a best companion crop. So similarly, like in tomato, radish is a best companion crop, and that for that reason red gram we have different companion crops. Bhendi is the best, chili is best, castor is across the border, marigold is very best. So what happens in marigold case? Marigold is nowadays marigold cultivation itself is becoming a profession and for selling it. So marigold is not just a flower for cultivation and selling, it helps in pest management in the field. How? This red gram and this marigold flowers at the same period of time, and even for that cotton also. So red gram, when it is planted marigold in the red gram plot, the insect at Helicoverpa parmigera, instead of laying eggs on the flowers of red gram, it lays eggs on the marigold flower. And when it lays marigold insects on the eggs on the marigold flower, so the insect that we have taken, birds which are there in the field because of plants and all, they can see yellow is the flower color, green is the insect color. The birds can very directly get to know where the insects are there. So they can come on the marigold flower and take the insects and fulfill his belly. So now for this reason we need to understand cropping. In red gram we take integrated like mixed farming of green gram, black gram, and even the nowadays millets has come up. Millets we are taking. What happens by taking millets or green gram or that crops in mixed farming in major crops like red gram, cotton and all. So cotton and red gram is grown in between the spacing of 3 to now 10 feet row to row. So suppose we are taking the smallest of the small distance of 3-4 feet. So the time duration taken by these crops to cover this row to row, it takes around 2 to 3 months. More than 3 months almost. So when it takes up to 3 months, the soil is exposed to the sun, and wherein there are lot many insects which are being microorganisms in the soil which are being killed because of heat of the sun. And also next is when the rain comes, this the runoff water takes the topsoil along with it. So we need to cover the soil till these rows cover the soil with other things to save the soil from sun and water runoff. So to do that, we cannot have a plastic kind of thing to cover the soil, or we cannot bring something tarpaulin or whatever things to cover the soil. We need to cover naturally. So what is that alternative is? Take a crop which can cover the soil to save the soil from sun and water. To do that, we need to plant root in green gram. You can take up groundnut, we can take black gram, we can even take this what you call millets also. So the green gram or black gram or say groundnut, they takes 10-15 days to cover the soil. So for till this red gram or cotton cover the soil, this groundnut or this black gram or green gram takes care of soil, covering the soil from the sun and even the runoff water. Second reason this crops helps is mixed crops will make the water to slow down, runoff water to slow down, so that infiltration increases, and this infiltration when it increases, it increases when it increases, then water table also increases. So in that case this crop, mixed crop, will help you to preserve the soil, save the soil from sun and water, and also it helps in water infiltration. And the rainfall, usually what you take 10 years 100 years data, rainfall is same almost, some 100, some 10% is reduced, but when there is no rain for 15-20 days, the infiltrated water that has gone down into the soil will help the major crop to sustain till the next rain comes. Now when there is no crop, intercrop of green gram or black gram, the water runs off and there is no infiltration of the water, and the next 5 days 6 days there is no rain, the main crops gets stressed out and yield affected. So with that case, we need to have in companion crops, we need to take up mixed cropping, and there are some crops which need to be planted, sown in the row of the main crop. Like we saw red gram, jawar in what you call red gram. We saw pundi in case of this red gram. So jawar helps in helping the birds to reside, stay and take the insects there. But nowadays, because of we think why that green jawar is to be there is it was a feed for what you call insects, and because it's fodder for bullocks, and we are not using bullocks, we are using tractors. We don't want that. We are removed jawar from our cropping system, but jawar has to be there to attract the birds, and birds will reside on the jawar and will yield good results. So we also have a trap crops kind of thing, like bandi is there, different crops in different different crops. So for that we need to understand companion crops and trap crops. To do this we need a bullock drawn. So because when we are sowing red gram with green gram, red gram with millets, we need to have a bullock drawn, manually done sowing, because tractor will not usually at this point of time. I don't know whether technology is updated to that extent, but as I know, technology is not so well accepted wherein millets can also be sown along with red gram. So we need to have a bullock spare, so for which we need to understand the advantages and disadvantages of tractors again, and advantages of disadvantages of bullock drawn, this one. So tractors are affecting a lot, and the researches in 1940s itself have proved tractors is affecting adversely on the yield of the crop, which is explained very well in Agricultural Testament book. But we don't know, unawareness of us, which is not stopping farmers from using tractors and all. We might be having reasons like labor availability and all, for that's other issues which we need to address, but this natural farming, we need to have a bullock drawn implements. And so next is bullock farm, leading them and talk and this one. So we need to have a bullocks and we need to have a cows in our farming system. It's not bullocks and cows, we need to have, there are animal components the farming which we need to understand. It may be sheep, it may be poultry birds, it may be even cat, dog, and all those things have a role to play in agriculture. So in that case, so cows, we usually know cows are only for milking. So and nowadays, because of go-births and all, lot many people working for cow protection and all, we have come up with a lot many products out of cow dung and cow urine. We are promoting, people are promoting, but that more than that, we need to understand the role of cows in farming. It helps to produce organic inputs, Jivamrita, Dashparni, many things. But more than that, it keeps the farmer busy in the field. Suppose if I take up red gram and don't have any cropping system, what I do is, the red gram is from June to November or January or last February if I take. After that February till next June, I don't have any activity in the field. So I never go to farm, and I go in the next June. There are a lot many changes that have happened in the field because of adverse rainfall or sun many things have taken changes. So if I have a cows, it becomes my responsibility to feed that cow, and for which I need to go to field, and I need to go to field. I take that cow along with me. I have planted some mangoes or some fruits and all which yield in summer also, and I can just not look into mango and cow, but I also take some activities in the field like removing the straws, and wherever water soil is not there, leveling it, and some removing some stones, building that what some things I will be doing it. So for which I need to have cows in the field. And we need to have even poultry, whether we are non-vegetarian or vegetarian, but poultry birds are also part of nature, and they are also part of farming. Irrespective of whether I'm a vegetarian or non-vegetarian, we need to have a poultry birds for nature. So nature, what the poultry birds do it? Poultry birds, when cows go for grazing, it eats lot many weed crops, and along with eating weed crops, it eats its seeds also. And we have a usually note that when we apply organic manure or cow dung and all, weed population is increased in the field. And when weed population is increasing, so people are going from cow dung based fertilizer or organic manure to inorganic pesticide manure like urea, DAP or whatever. So why we need to have poultry birds is, poultry birds feeds on this what you call cow dung based this one, and it purifies it by eating the seeds of weeds. So these poultry birds eat that weeds and also some insects that are present, and cleans the cow manure. And when cow manure is applied in the field, it's enriched by the process of eating and excreta of poultry, but more than that, it also cleans. So two things have happened. So value of that cow dung has increased from the nutrient of cow dung, and nutrients of poultry birds is different. And also it is like poultry birds are what you call it gives yield, and also it cleans the manure. So there are three advantages of poultry birds. And next, sheep and goat, we call sheep and goat as an ATM of farmer. So because whenever we need few more rupees or something like that, we can sell it and take that crop. And these sheep and goat are required in the field because we have planted some plants in the plot which need to be pruned regularly, and when we need to prune them, we need to apply labor, and for which we need to pay them. When we need to pay for them, we have to take revenue out of it. Otherwise we don't have plants, we don't plant it because it's a cost. So we don't have cost, we need to get revenue out of it. So I planted babul, I planted bear. So these are unwanted plants. Bear, because bear has no value in the market to that extent, babul has no value in the market for that extent. So what we do is, when these are planted, we prune them. When we are prune them, they are cut, they have to be thrown out. So while throwing, if we have this sheep and goat, they are cut and fed into this sheep and goat, I get our revenue out of this waste. So for me, cut babul, cut bear plant, cut whatever plant that are in the field are waste, which has to be thrown or burnt. So when I have a sheep and goat in my farm, these feed on that during those season, and I get a valuable product called sheep and goat. So this is part of nature, part of farming. So for which we need to have in small number based on acreage of land. And we are talking about weeds and all because manure is applied and all. And for which, when it comes to weed, I need to explain a story called, so when there was a guru who his disciples, we explained everything, and he made to learn the things. And while going at the end of the course, disciple asked, what should we give as a guru dakshina? When it was asked, the guru asked, you search for 1 year in your area, bring that plant which is of no use to human beings. Then disciple went on in search of plant, and after 1 year they came and asked sorry for it and saying, we don't have any plants as such which doesn't give any value to human beings. So that means there is no plant on earth which is of no use to human beings. But and weed definition is a unwanted plant in a crop. A plant is weed. So weed concept itself is our ignorance of the planting system, plants biodiversity. So we need to understand plant biodiversity. Maybe it because of medicinal value, maybe it because of vegetable value, and many other values, because there are some weeds which have insecticidal properties, like jake itself is there. And jake is like is a cypress rattan. Cypress species is an insecticidal properties. We take there are many researches done on it, so we need to understand there are other benefits, other weeds which have medicinal plants. And you must be saying that weeds we cannot use as a medicine because we go to hospitals and we cannot have knowledge that we can use them as a medicinal uh, this one what you call uh, 1 second. So we don't have this one what you call medicinal knowledge and all. We cannot use it. So in that sense, so we it's not just medicinal, we can also have use them as what you call vegetable value of it. Every plant on earth has a vegetable value also. There are someone a very good eminent farmer to me explained very well that richness is not measured by money that we have. It is explained, it is measured by the biodiversity of vegetables that we eat. Today if we have to list some plants, if there are some plants which we can mention 10 or 15 vegetables, maximum 20-25 vegetables, but he said to me that if we eat one vegetable today, next turn for that vegetable has to come next life. That means throughout our 60-80 years we need to eat different. If not that, at least 1 year. If we eat brinjal today, the brinjal turn has to come next year only. But how many? We don't know tomato, potato. More than tomato and potato, we don't know any other vegetables also. So for that, there is no plant called weeds. We need to understand many things. Like best of the best weeds, we say Sandon-Doctylon, Karike, we say that we use during Ganapati Puja and all. So Ganesha Chaturthi. So that is a major weed, and many herbicides have come up only on that Sandon-Doctylon, Karike. So in that case, that is called Sanjivini of earth, that it can cure many of the diseases. And for that reason, tiger is an animal which is carnivorous, which eats only non-vegetarian, but in case of stomach ache, it goes on feed on this weed. So based on that only we can understand the importance of Sandon-Doctylon or any other weed. So this one example I quoted. There are many other vegetables which have this one vegetable value of it. And there are cases. There is a book called Weeds Are the Guardians of the Soil, which explains like weeds of the guardians of the soil, which explains the importance of weeds in cropping pattern. So but for it we need to understand the crop and the weed compatibility. So if there is a dicot plant crop that we need to sow, if monocot weed is there, it's beneficial. If monocot crop we are taking, dicot weed is a beneficial. So dicot weed in a dicot plant is not very much suitable, but doesn't harm. So for which we need to understand how much yield loss is there and to what extent the weed damages the plot to main crop. So hardly up to 30% of the main crop age weed affects. More than that it doesn't affect. Weed doesn't affect by attracting the nutrients from the soil instead of taking from the plant main crop, but it only affects by shade value but not by nutrients, because there are many weeds which adds nutrients to the soil rather than taking nutrients from the soil. It adds nutrient to the soil. So we need to understand this. But still then, if someone wants to know, I want to follow natural farming, but still I want to go kill the plants, I want an herbicide. So one of the farmer has developed an organic herbicide using cow urine and salt and all. So it is used in open field to kill the weeds. It has a good result. Still people can follow that. But as my advice goes, natural farming, we need not kill anything, we need not burn anything. Still we can get success in farming. And we need to understand fence crops. So we are today fencing those who are in the agriculture, coming from different streams like doctors, engineers, or some professionals getting into agriculture. We want, first and foremost, we try building an asset. We like building shed and all, and comes to solar fencing and all. Success rate of solar fencing is almost 10-20%, not more than that. Initially, first year, first month, first 2 months, good looks very good. When the weeds and grows across the border, across this fencing, then the managing that weeds along the fence becomes a major problem rather than maintaining the weeds in the plot. So in that case, live fencing is a solution. Live fencing, we need to understand what are the crops that can be taken up in live fence. So there is agave is there, one best live plant, and again bougainvillea is there, and whatever thorny plants, even sitafal or custard apple and even subabul are also best major live fencing crops which need to be taken accordingly, for which further information can be taken later. So which we need to understand what crops to be sown along the border, how they can be sown, because custard apple is neither eaten by any of the animal, doesn't eat it. It adds value, it gives fruits to the farmer, also it kills some insects and all. It's also insecticidal plant. Harmful insects are being killed by using sitafal seeds, sitafal leaves and all. When it is there, naturally we are avoiding insects and pests in the plot. So we need to have a sitafal along the border, and even subabul can be planted, but only thing precautionary measure we need to take is we need to cut that plant at 5 feet or 6 feet every regularly, and that cut plant can be used for fodder to the animals like sheep, goat or cow. Also it's very nutritious. Why we need to allow it to grow very fast is because it's very fast growing, and when it goes very fast, its fruits and the seeds also fallen across the field, and every subabul plant becomes a major weed in that case. So we need to cut it very fast, and if you do very systematically, it becomes a wall kind of thing. So subabul plants itself become a wall in the field. So that can be very good live fence also. So we got to know live fencing, cropping system, and desi cows. For cows, we need to understand that cows doesn't mean HF and Jersey. We need to understand it. Desi cows may not be just Gir, Devni and all. Any cow that's with indigenous characters, indigenous breed is a cow which you can have. And lesser the milk, no problem. It is more nutritious for the soil. And dog is also, I explained dog why need, because today we have a wild animal problem across the field, like especially we have a pig problem, wild pig. So in that case, to solve, we are trying different dramas, but dog is the best, because we see it's a proverb in kind of like enemy is a good friend. So our enemy is pig and pig's enemy is dog, and dog must be our good friend. And we need to understand the enemies of pig. For that, wild cat is very good enemy. Mungsi, what that we call that is also very good enemy. Dog is best enemy. Fox is very good enemy. So we need to see that these natural enemies are being grown, and for which we need to build up that environment again by planting trees and all. So dog, and when we have a poultry birds, we also say that the other cat and all comes and kills this poultry birds, and we are in loss. So our own dogs and our own cat will not kill our own birds. It's a system that we see across villages, and these dogs and cats will take care of our other cats and dogs, so that our poultry birds are safe. So we have seen cases wherein dogs come to houses, take food, and goes again in the night to the field 3-4 kilometers away to take care of that owner's land. So we need to build dogs not in just homes of cities. We need to have cat even in villages, in field also. And dogs again doesn't mean that again imported breed. It's just local breed which feeds naturally. And if you observe all these sheep, cultivate sheep, they to take sheep for roaming and feeding, and they will take dogs along with them. So, and that is how we need to understand nature, understand every components of nature. And for to do all those things, we need to understand or the difference between organic and inorganic. What are the inputs that we take in organic, and what are the input that we use in organic? We have a seeds, which we need to understand. Seeds, in case of inorganic farming, we bring from the market hybrids or whatever biotechnology grown and whatever these things. But in natural farming, we need to learn the principles of seed selection. Seed doesn't mean we need to bring it from other areas, other plot. We need to have our own seeds from our own land, because the seed, when plant is growing, when it is seed is an offspring of that plant. So seed, when it becomes the offspring of that plant, the plant takes care that seed survives for the next season. So it imbibes some character that next season it has to grow very well and gives and again next seeds very well. So if it's the drought season has to come up next year, the seeds today that we are taking crop, that will imbibe the characters of drought resistance in the next crop, so that plant can survive in future. So, but for that reason, we need to understand the seed selection methodologies. Suppose I take again red gram as example. When 1 acre of land, we need 10 kgs of seeds for the next season. So 10 kgs of seeds, for that we need to understand how many plants I need to select. Suppose if I need to select 100 plants, I need to select those plants which are very well grown, which are very healthy without any insecticidal damage and all, and where the number of pods in that plants are very high, and each pod there are number of seeds in that pod or more, like 4 or 3 or more than that. It's a good character, and number of pods are also more than that. So in that case, so we need to think what can be seeds, how need to be selected. Seeds has to be selected keeping in mind the next, like suppose I take a red gram example, I need to select healthy plants, and taking healthy plant, again I need to take number of pods, number of seeds in that. So I need to select those plants, tie a rope and harvest those plants separately. And similarly with that, I need to take care of different, in case of jawar, I need to have a healthy plant which is very well grown, which is height, which is some, these characters I need to keep in mind so while selecting the seeds. So different cropping system, crops have a different characters to select from. This one, what you call the seed selection methodology. So for which we, instead of buying seeds from the market, we need to select seeds from our own area, wherein we can have them from our field itself. So seeds, and next comes urea, DAP, that we are chemical fertilizer we are bringing from the market. So instead of bringing from our own market, we are Jivamrita, Bijamrita, or even Vermi wash are best things that can be used as an alternative for this one, what you call urea and DAP. Method of making Jivamrita and all, everyone is aware of, and there is a googling out. If you do it, if you get everything. Vermi wash is also good manure for plants, and not just even vermi wash. There are many things which are naturally grown, cow dung, cow based, almost all based, cow dung based and cow urine based. So then comes pesticides, whatever, maybe insecticide, fungicide and all. So in that case, fungicide, we make Dashparni, which you can google it out. We make Panchpata pesticide. Different pesticides can be made, and one is the best is sour buttermilk. A buttermilk of cow which is saved for some days, in 15-20 days, in the one that you can spray it at the rate of 1 liter in 10 liters of water. It takes care of many diseases like fungus in the plant, and even there are many serious diseases which can be controlled using sour buttermilk. So in that case, insecticides and pesticides, fungicides, even for virus also, there is no, as such, there is no major in inorganic farming, but buttermilk will take care of virus diseases in papaya, in banana and all those things, for which we need to understand the properties of buttermilk, how to spray it and all those things. So it's not just we are bringing inorganic materials right now and we'll bring organic material from the market and do the farming is not the solution. We need to understand these components of things. So to do all those things, if I say we need to do Jivamrita, we need to do Dashparni, we need to save buttermilk, we need to collect urine, we need to tell Dauda, cow dung and all, people complain that about labor. Next major issue is labor. So we understand labor, obviously labor shortage is there. It's not just in farming, in every industry we have a labor or manpower problem, and there are not many reasons behind it, but agriculture is facing more than that. The reason behind this is in agriculture, current agriculture, if you observe, who are following integrated natural farming, they don't have a labor problem. Labor problem is only for specialist farmers who are following inorganic farming and who are specialized in some crops, like maybe papaya, watermelon or whatever crops, even dairy, poultry, whatever. So if we follow integrated natural farming, what happens is, these labor shortage is there because they get a job in villages only for 165 to 180 days. What they need to do for another 200 days. It's a big issue. So for that reason, to have an to solve the unemployment problem of 200 days, they are going to migrating to metros. And current situation, they are coming back and all that secondary. But still then, they have migrated to cities because of job days they are not getting in the field. So in this integrated farming, natural farming or organic farming, whatever you call, they get a job for 365 days in your field. And when they get a 365 days from your field, they will not be interested to move out of your field to the next field where they are not given regular employment. And there are cases wherein they don't get to go to some field for weeding, for some sowing and all, because they don't get a place to sit, shade to sit in sunny days. Suppose I need to weed it now and I have 10 acres of land, I don't have any plant, the laborers will not come there because 10 acres we need to weed, and there is no even single plant to sit, take rest for some 5-10 minutes, and I cannot sit all day in sun. I don't want to go to that plot. So now we have planted as a safety measure for them, labor will come to your place. And when they come to your plant, these plants and all, the whatever sheep and goat have eaten the leaves, that leftover is as a can be used for your what you call burn for cooking and all. So these are the advantages. So in when you follow natural organic farming, obviously labor is given a job days of 365 days, employment for 365 days. When he is given employment for 365 days, there is no issue of labor, they will work with you. And we need this, not just plants, animals and all. We have a culture of festivals in India and all. So is there any relationship between our festivals and our farming? That also we need to understand. So natural farming, we need to understand these festivals also. For example, we have this Dasara the puja wherein some seeds are sown and germination is done, and again in the name of Durga and all. So that is actually a science method, science or technology, wherein our germination of seeds germination quality of seeds is being tested. So this is a technology. It's not just in the name of God we are doing. We are doing for a sake of seed testing in the field. So we need to understand this festival. We have a Holi festival, and again we say Holi is a festival. It's a mainly men festival, wherein we are just having a rang color and all. It's not just playing with color. We are going to nature, we are making different colors of different plants, like we use in falsa tree, that's a flame of forest, to make colors. And when we wash our body with the colors of flame of forest, our body is being cleaned, our body insects are on the body, or some microorganisms in the body are being killed. So this we need to understand. It's not just the red color of falsa or flame of forest. There are different colors we need to understand. When different colors are being prepared naturally, every plant that you have in the field becomes useful, and when we have a plant useful, then economically we are grown. So this is two festivals I'm mentioning, but every festival, Yugadi we go to Neem, it's like Neem. So why is that we need to pick neem flowers on only on Yugadi? Why can't we fix any day and just take it up? So we need to go that see the flowers, and flowers of neem will help you to predict the rainfall in future. There are many plants, there are many insects which helps you to predict the future rainfall. Like Cassia fistula, which flowers will help you to know the next rainfall. So neem also helps you to predict the next rainfall. Insects, ant movement in the field helps you to predict the rainfall. So there are different things we need to understand. It's not just quoted by Mallinath. There are many researchers and even many scientists have also come up with technology for indigenous technology for predicting rainfall and all. So we need to do that. Festivals, we need to understand every festival, what is in relation with our farming system. So then we need to understand that nothing is permanent on this. So technologies change. So we need that concept of nothing is permanent structure. We need not have a permanent structure. See, if you observe like permanent, we want a permanent fencing, we want a permanent shed, we want a permanent this one. So those collapses very fast. So if we go by building naturally, see, if we observe all this is polyhouses and all which are being survived, so their chances of success is percentage of success is very low. So we need high-tech agriculture. No, traditional farming is the only solution for agriculture. So so we need to understand difference between high-tech farming and traditional farming. Many people who have money and want to do farming, they will come up with a concept. I have money, I can do whatever, so I want to do something big, very big. So something big is in agriculture is planting trees, living with them, and living with natural things like cow, sheep, and that's the biggest thing you can do. It's not biggest thing is building a big house, big fence with solar fencing or some more than that, having some implements, tractor, this and for everything, and all of that 6 months I invested money and I'm not getting anything out of it. I want to sell the land. That is not high-tech farming. High-tech farming is building an environment. Environment is where everyone is sustainable. You need to plant today so that your son, your grandson eats on it. And when I say I just got to remember, like planting trees doesn't mean again grafting or non-grafted things. We need to understand. So grafting trees you observe everywhere, anywhere, has not grown. Survivability of that plant for more than 10-20 years is very rare. Like you cannot find grafted plant of 100 years of age. But plant grown out of seed is more than for 100 years and so. So if you plant a mango, and there are sciences which explains, based looking into the leaf of the neem, you can understand the fruits will be sweet or so, or bitter, whatever you call. So in that case, we need to understand these technologies, how that plant is being known, what are the characters. We need to look into the plant so that we can predict the fruit quality in future. So one thing. Second thing, even with respect to quality of fruit and all, if you plant today, down the line 20-30 years, even you can cut for timber and all, again plant it, but there is no big deal. But if that gives a good yield, that's it. I take another example to explain you how naturally the plants gets a new character and advantages instead of biotechnology. Take an example of cricket. And when Don Bradman was the cricketer, suppose that technology was there to develop clone him, and there was even discussion during those days also. Like if Don Bradman was cloned, and he was cloned, and Don Bradman was character again, the same character was built up, and there are a lot many cricketers like just like Don Bradman. The biotechnology, if is being developed, we would not have got Sachin Tendulkar in future, and if we have cloned Sachin Tendulkar for that matter, we would not have got Virat Kohli or Dhoni for that matter. So in that case, if we are trying to multiply only Apus, only Dashra, only Malika right now, chances of having bigger mangoes, we still good character of still this mango are very rare. Who knows, nature may take care of mango to survive in future. That mango can be a 12 months crop in future. So something nature can take care of it. So let us leave to the nature, plant some seeds and allow it to grow. Have that fruit. If it is good, keep the plant. If you use that for whatever reasons you want. So best method of planting is plant trees, plant seeds, sow seeds, and usually planting is done in the east-west direction, so that shade value effect of that plant is nullified to some extent. These things, some common sense, some science we need to understand. And when it comes to science, I want to remember whether science, agriculture is science and arts, that we need to understand. We call agriculture as science, but sowing is an arts or a science, hand sowing. We need to understand it's not just science, it's more than a science, it's an arts. When you go to field, just by I need studied soil science, I need to understand how this much moisture should be there, this much texture should be there. So based on the quality, I go to soil and then I study whether sowing can be done or not. So you cannot do that. It's an art, it's a character, it's a skill of that individual. Once he gets into the soil, he understands, oh, today sowing has to be done or not done. It's not just selection of seeds, it's an arts. Based on the plant, you cannot just go on scientifically measuring what number of pots and all. Just by looking into it, you need to get. And arts for that, music is an art. It's not a science. That you do this in that way and you get a very good expert. So music is an art, and in that case, when music can affect yield very positively, why we call science agriculture is a science. Agriculture is arts also. So there are evidences which says just with a good song, good music in the field, yield is increasing. So we need to understand for that reason what music will increase the yield, what sound will increase the yield. And nowadays whenever tractor is going, we have all those nonsense songs in the field, and obviously that affects negative on the plant, and again yield is less. So again we blame on the nature, we blame on the system and all those things. So for that reason, even your positive thoughts will also impact on the yield. And people right now scientifically, we may not trust it, but there are evidences done by foreign researchers also, which says that Sankalpa Krishi and all those things that are actually facts in India. So foreigners have proved it very well that Sankalpa Krishi also happens. So your positive thoughts will impact positively on agriculture yield. So for that reason, your character, your behavior in the field. So if you go with the negative thoughts, I am going to organic farming, whether it will be successful, it's not. So what happens to do? How I to justify all those things? Can I spray some insecticide and all those things? Again, you are in the failure. So get up early morning. Every day when you go to field, we go to field with a confidence, positive thoughts that I am going to get successful in natural farming, and God will help you in this, whether you believe it God or not. But still that positive energy is there, which helps in yield increasing. So to even we need to understand is it really true that fertilizer will increase yield or not. So for that reason we need to understand for how that fertilizer came into India. Before fertilizers came into India, foreign scientists came to India to study what are the lacunas of Indian agriculture and what knowledge they need to give to Indian farmers, so that Indian agriculture is improved, so that they get some quality product from India to their countries, and they feel that we are helping and to take control of whatever politics and all. So when the scientists came to India, they traveled across India, mainly in Punjab and all those things. They felt and they gave written documents to the British then government and all, saying that there is nothing to teach these Indian farmers, and with the fertility of the soil, the current status, that was 1950s, 1940s, fertility status of the soil, they can, whatever period back they have cultivated, further also for 10-20,000 years they can cultivate on the same fertilizer quality of that soil without any reduction in the yield. So still then again they were taken back, and then some stories how to promote NPK concept came it, and the NPK concept that urea and DAP are not the manure or not the chemical fertilizer, they are byproducts of petroleum which were used for during World War to produce bombs and all. So arms and ammunitions they were used, and when after World War, when there was reduction in demand for arms and ammunitions, they need to find a different alternative, for which farming sector was a victim of it. So in that case we need to understand that. And so to conclude in a brief, so natural farming is not a farming wherein we put some seeds and some feed that with some fertilizer, organic or whatever, and get the yield and sell in the market. It's all about understanding the nature, understanding every part of the nature, how we can take a benefit out of it. And then, so in that case, plants are the first and foremost friends of the human being, and every plant has a role to play. Every small up to the small plant has a role to play, which we need to understand this benefit and take that benefit in a positive way. Second is, every animal on this earth has a role to play, and there are many animals, birds which are beneficial to us, which we need to understand the plus or minus and take how positively we can take benefit out of it and profit out of it, for which we need to understand cow-based living, cow-based FMCG products. Now cow-based soaps, toothpaste have come up, and once you start using those things, again our cost of living will be reduced, and again our farming practices for revenue from the farming will be more. So for which we need to understand. And next is plants, and this one we need to understand cropping system, we need to understand role of bees, we need to understand how we need to select seeds, how we need to prepare manure for this, which again can be a good session wherein you need to learn every mix, for which we have written a book in Kannada and in English, which you can, it's like a just cookbook for organic products. He said that I'm not my role is not big deal. Gopals have supported. Gopals is a team in Bangalore and spread across different states, which are working for cows and plants, which have supported me economically for developing, writing this, printing this book and all. So what it will be done is, the book contents are just like because I faced a problem during farming, like different books have different things, and whenever I get some problem, I cannot go to every I can search, I don't remember in which book what content was there, how to search it and all. So I thought, why can't I make a list of that in a single book? So there are around 80-90 things which are 30 in Kannada, and in English there are things which are written how just there is no science behind all this explanation in the book about science and all. Just there is an explanation on how to make it, what are the materials required, and how to to use it. That's the only thing. So later you can contact me for this further things. So we need to learn input preparation in organic farming, and down the line, if you understand, do natural farming 3-4 years, we need not make even this preparation of inputs and all. Nature will take care of that. There are many farmers from whom I learned from Palekarji, I learned from Subhash, this Narayan Reddy ji, I learned from AP Chandrasekhar Mais. So different farmers are there, and we need to go to them and talk to them. So so try learning these things. Learning is a continuous process in farming, for which we are working and all. So to conclude, what you learned is we need to plant trees, that to normal seed plants. You just collect seeds during this summer season or whatever, and then go on planting those according to the need, according to the system, which you can browse or contact us, people like us, and understand what plant need to be planted where and all. So it takes, and seed is plants grown from the natural seed in that place itself. In my case, it survived even summer also. So plant roots and all, that takes care of water and all. So in that case, plants, try to have 1 or 2 cows in your field. With this fertilizer, learning from farmers, try learning from your fellow farmers, try learning from discussions, because usually what we do is instead of talking politics or cricket and all, when agriculture becomes a passion for us, we need to learn such things from this only discussion only. And there are many books to read on this to understand things. And more is like, even when it comes to even irrigation and all, we are again high tech farming and all, we say this what you call drip system is will help and all. Again, drip again is the non eco friendly. We need to understand the advantages of open flooding and all. Today this water shortage is there, okay, for that we have to go with drip and all. But when you follow natural farming, your water table will increase, water will be humidity, that moisture level in the soil will increase, and just will help you solve the problem of labor, sorry, in water. So and all this will take care of your problems of labor. We all will take care of your, even how the pricing will also influence. So lastly, finally, we'll conclude this pricing. So what happens is, pricing today we call agriculture, organically grown crops are costly. Is it true or false is a one thing. And second is how these need to be priced. So when you go into organic farming, we are not dependent upon the market price, because I don't have any pressure to sell my product right now. I have a red gram, so because so farming I have a different solutions, but in inorganic farming I don't have